guys, it's Sophie from Build Your Jungle, and today I'm going to be doing a plant repotting using some different substrates I got from Soil Ninja. I've got quite a lot of different sized plants and different types of plants. I'm going to be starting out with the base mix for some things that just need a simple mix with good drainage. I also think the quality, I just think I can tell instantly. It's really nice, and I like the ratio of perlite to compost. So the first one I'm going to be doing is this lovely begonia tamaya, and this has grown amazingly. Like, I can't believe how quickly it's growing at the moment. It's got a new leaf and a leaf spike, and this was the leaf before that, which I was very surprised at how much this sized up, considering that it's supposedly more compact than the begonia maculata, but it's now got much bigger size leaves than my maculata. So I think I'm just going to be sticking it in the next pot size up, and then maybe we'll see what happens, because as it grows I am going to have to give it some kind of trellis or something, I think. So I want to be super gentle with this one. Begonias have really fine roots, and I'm much more used to working with thick aroid roots and like monstera or anthurium and philodendron roots. So I'm going to try to be so careful, because honestly I will be gutted if I knock these leaves off. And just before we get started, I would like to say that my system for this is to tip soil I'm not going to be using into a bin bag between my feet. I realise that's not the ideal system. It's what we're going with today, so let's get straight into it. I do realise I'm going to make a very big mess. I'm going to tip it into the pot I'm not going to use, then tip it into the bin bag, just to make slightly less mess. People have different ways that they like to repot things. I just find that if you gently squeeze the sides for the delicate plants, that it works quite well, just to be patient. In an ideal world, when you repot something, it will be closer to dry than wet. Oh, because the old substrate, especially if it's a rubbish substrate, will come away easier. However, that's not always the case for things with finer roots, because if I'd repotted this begonia when it was dry, it would be much easier for the roots to snap. It's not in a bad mix, so I'm not going to disturb the roots with this one. Just knock some loose bits off from around the side, and that's all I'm doing, because I want to be so gentle with this. It's such a beautiful begonia. I got it from Artful Plants, which is a lovely local seller called Jade. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of me lifting things up. I'm very prepared to get dirt all over myself. So I like to put some soil in the bottom of the pot first, so that the roots aren't just sitting straight at the bottom. And then very gently And if you've not repotted something before, the one important thing is you need to find the balance between making sure that the pot is actually properly filled and that you're not just leaving like big gaps in it, but without compressing the roots. So you want to be really gentle, basically. But at the same time, you don't want to be so gentle in it that it's not actually planted in the pot at all, and when you move it, it just falls. As you repot more plants, though, you do get used to kind of different ways that you need to treat the different genuses when you're repotting. I know that she's going to lean because she's heavy. See, I think what I'm going to have to do, this is going to come out of the prop box today. I don't want the leaves of the begonia touching the bottom or the sides of the plastic, which it is doing now because of the size of this new leaf. So I'm going to move it out into this other grouping of plants that's in a zone that's about 70% humidity. And I'm going to stand it on top of a smaller pot so that it'll not touch. You know what? I've changed my mind. I really recommend you don't change your mind in the middle of repotting something. Sorry. There you go. If you want to, you can wear gardening gloves, but I just really like how soil feels. There, I'm gonna leave it like that. Hopefully this leaf's gonna be, it looks very cute. Gonna stand on top of the old pot. There you go there, my lovely. Next, I've got this pot for this plant, and this is variegated Swedish ivy. It's also called grape ivy sometimes. Not that you would know it was variegated, because at the moment this is the only part showing some variegation. This one was left in leca in my loft like over summer. I found it with completely dried up, no root system, but I just stuck it in some water again, completely came back. It was like that big at this point and on one vine. And then I potted it up after it developed some new roots into this tiny pot. This is so funny to me, how the size of this plant with this tiny pot, it's needed doing for ages. But then suddenly it's just shot out all of these branches, sized up massively. When you have a plant like this, where it's going to be completely full of roots in here, it just gets thirsty really quickly. It means you have to water more and more often. And it's very, very frustrating. And also, I don't want to risk stunting the beautiful growth. My aim for it is to have more of a trailing basket of this situation. This one's a bit tricky because it has some roots growing through the pot. There we go. Wow. Okay, I knew this would be the case, but the fact that this just had no water for a good 4 months and it managed to make this comeback, I'm not going to pry it. All I'm going to do is just lightly free up some of the roots at the bottom. And as much as I do like the clear tower pots, I think for this plant, something like this is more suitable. My housemate's working from home today, so she may or may not bob in and out. You can see from the original bit of the plant I had, these 2 leaves had some variegation. It is cute to see a little bit of actual white again. I think this is going to look pretty cool when all of these branches get quite big. Obviously it's still quite top heavy, but when I've watered it, I think the risk of falling will be less. Right, now I'm changing, I'm just gonna show this, I'm changing to Monstera and Philodendron mix. I am using the Monstera and Philodendron mix as an all-purpose aroid mix from Soil Ninja. I am of the opinion that most people just need a tropical chunky mix, a base mix, and a cactus and succulent mix to basically be covered in all situations. This is Epipremnum Global Green, or Global Green Pothos. This was a cutting from a plant I got ages ago from Poppy's Potting Shed, I think. This was literally 1 leaf though, and it's really starting to come back now. I'm going to be sizing it up into the next size of these aroid tower pots. And you can see it's got a new leaf on the way. Small growth is a sign that you need to repot as well, because when the roots don't have any more substrate to grow into, it's really going to slow down with this growth. It'll have quite some room to go in this. These pots I love because I think they look really nice. They're very clean. They have really good drainage because these are pots that people use for semi-hydro. And you can keep an eye on the roots, and it's so much easier with pots like this. There's a couple of plants that I find it harder to tell when they need to be repotted, and I can literally see if the substrate is wet. This substrate I've just taken out is Grow Tropical's Jungle Mix, and I am going to keep it and reuse it for something else because it still looks in good condition. However, for the purpose of this video, and because this is an epipremnum and I am okay to, the roots are stronger for me to mess about with a bit. They're not going to snap. I'm going to remove it for fairness of comparison, because the whole point of this is I'm wanting to see how good the Soil Ninja mix works for me. With plants with very delicate root systems though, It can be very hard to tell if you are snapping off roots if you're trying to remove a very dense, wet compost and you have these tiny roots, like a pilia, for example. Your plant may seem like it very much has declined after repotting if you have put it into shock, especially when conditions aren't good and there's other factors stressing out the plant, like temperature in winter. Then plants can go into transplant shock. They can seem very wilted and droopy and basically look like they're not going to make it. But what I'm about to say is if you are very patient with them, most plants will recover from transplant shock. As per the instructions, oh yeah, that's the ticket. I can already feel some lovely chunky bark. I'm gonna plant this towards the edge like that because it's crawling this way, and then it could send down some aerial roots into the soil. And my plants love chunky aerated mixes. Here we go. And out of this first little group, the last one I have is my stand liana, an example of foliage having a large size decrease when a plant very much needs repotting. Also, this plant is victim to a little something I like to call RDOTS, rapid decrease of topsoil. There are often times where I knock plants over, and with the chunkier mixes, they just seem to fly straight on out. Maybe over time it's been watered out of here, but it's like all chunk and no actual water retention thing, so it's been drying out quite fast. So I'm hoping that this mix will be better. I think the problem I had with this as well was that it was had a lot of roots here, so I was trying to plant it lower. But then clearly it didn't have too far to go. These can be grown climbing. I'm not really a fan of that. I want to grow mine trailing. Oh, I've just noticed as well that it's got a new growth point, which is awesome. If you're wondering what I'm doing, sometimes I smell plant roots to check on the health, which is useful because if you ever suspect rot as well, it smells bad. So I have to say, for how much this has been drying out too much, the roots have stayed, like they're not dehydrated or anything. They're just all kind of accumulated in this big clump. Just slide still over there for now. Okay, this is how big a pot I'm going up to this time. And I've seen some of these really big recently, and it's made me be like, okay, I need to help this plant and do a bit better. The thing that I'm preferring just straight off the bat about Soil Ninja is that you can see it's just very dry chunks. And this has more substance and chunkiness. There we go. Not the most glamorous transformation for Miss Standliana. Just from private seller and on Facebook groups. But now I just really want it to be a nice big trailing plant. So that is my goal for this plant this year. Well, I don't think it'll be like how I want it to be by this year. Maybe like 3 years. If anybody was wondering, I'm repotting plants in sections based off where they were to avoid contamination, just because I have so many plants. Sometimes there can be pests about and I not notice. So these are all greenhouse plants. And now I'm off to get the corner cluster section of plants, because in my mind that makes sense. Got all of the gang. Got my anthurium babies who I love. We've got a gloriosum that keeps wanting to lean backwards, so it needs some space to crawl in the pot. Okay, I brought so many pots. So I've got oxalis, which I'm really nervous because I've never upsized an oxalis, but I can see that it's got roots at the bottom. Well, I think it does. It's growing kind of crazy because I found it and I already knew this. Oh, I've just snapped a leaf off. See, this is why I don't want to repot this, because I'm just going to snap it. Like, oxalis is just so like responsive to light, and because I've got grow lights all different directions, it just can't decide which way it wants to go. And then I turn it around thinking, oh yeah, and then the sides both go to the opposite sides. So it looks kind of crazy, but I can't believe how big this is compared to when I first got it anyway. And I've got my 2 anthurium crystallinums. This is no problem because we're going for this. This one, I'm kind of gutted because I've not got any of the really big clear pots. So I'm thinking, oh no. I was thinking this, but I don't think that's big enough. Oh, that has scarpered my plants. This is much wider, but shorter than that one. Gloriosum. We didn't sort out the gloriosum. I'll go for the gloriosum first, actually, because I wanted to sort this out for a while. I had this stick in there just to stop it from falling over. Okay, so it has some good roots. It's not as crazy roots as I thought it was going to be. This is more just like it needed a wider pot. Sorry. I've been mixing it up.
Was that expensive, soil?
It's the same price as Grow Tropicals, but you get 2 extra litres.
Well, it's cheaper. Good.
And now that it's got room to crawl and it's supported and not going to fall over backwards, I don't need the stick in there anymore. So I can use it for something else. We're going to do the mini anthurium next, because note that I clearly am avoiding doing the oxalis. Anthurium I find are the easiest roots to work with, in my opinion, because they're always very, very robust. And now that's the pot we just used. I've been so excited to see the anthurium doing really well and putting out new leaves and getting bigger. I just am so into anthurium at the moment. It's something I've really, really been focusing on growing in my collection. I think I've said that like a million times recently. I feel like if you're looking at these little anthuriums and you're not into them right now, if you Google some of the pictures of when they're big, like even you can just get a taste of it with the veining on this beautiful shaped leaf on my slightly more mature one. There you go, and these pots as well are so much, you make it so easy for repotting, because like I can see right now, a big air bubble. Lots of room for her to grow now. And this one, which I'm hoping is somewhat not as rooty as I think. These seem to be very thirsty at the moment. I don't know if it was just because they're growing so fast. I I feel like there's going to be some people absolutely dying at the fact that I'm just pouring soil onto the kitchen table. I'm very surprised that, I don't know why I'm surprised, but I'm surprised that usually, like when I've repotted this many plants, I would have thought that there would have been some root issue or something we'd come across by now, or just a bit of rotten root that I might have to remove, but all of the roots of the plants so far have been in really, really nice condition. Okay, fate has been cruel to us today, friends, because these are, other than the pots I need for the calathea, these are the biggest. So the option is have the roots be able to go out a bit to the side more in the round one, or have more room to grow down in the... I'm going for the green. Silver in plants is actually caused by blister variegation, which is little pockets of air, which is so cool, which is why plants with blister variegation, they don't have their photosynthesis affected by it, whereas plants with albo variegation, which is the white ones like the monstera albo and stuff, they grow slower because they have less chlorophyll in the leaves. There we go. Oh, that's really nice, actually. I really like that. Finally, for the scrub, we're gonna tackle the old oxalis. I have never repotted an oxalis because it is so delicate. I am going to disturb this as little as possible. Usually when something's in this is in straight compost, I've not repotted it yet since I got it. Usually I would be desperate to remove a mix like that, but oxalis likes to stay very moist and the rhizomes are resistant to rotting. And as you can see, the roots, as I expected, are so fine. I don't even know if you'll be able to make them out. I'm going to plop this all in as it is, and I'm going to use the pot. One of the others was it? No, go a bit bigger. Go big or go home. Yeah. Yeah, you sit there, friend. I'm trying to get more into plants with unusual care. Like, I like the fact that oxalis goes dormant in winter and grows back. I think it's interesting. I don't know if there's any oxalis experts out there, but I would presume they would refer to this as leggy, I think. Yeah, it's gone a little bit leggy, probably from not having enough light. It will be the situation. I just had a break to have some food before I did the calathea, and now my housemate's left and Milo just wants to come and get all my attention. He's like, I want to sleep on you, please. He's a super cuddly little dog. Let me get you a blanket. Okay, now this is going to be a bit more challenging because I've got two large calathea. I'm just going to take this out. This is one of our plant pals. We usually have mushroom ones, but Harriet made a little froggy one. Minnie, you're just going to be running around now this whole time. That's okay, but I got to do this plant stuff. This calathea was from Poppy's Pie Shed. It was much... I've got this one really tall leaf on it because it was a much taller plant. I went away for a week and Aaron forgot about this plant and it was really keeled over. It ended up losing most of the original leaves and it's grown all of these now. It's a calathea medallion and it's pushed out quite a few. It's got a new leaf here actually. as well. And I'm just going to upsize this into one of these size pots that I got. And then I have the Calathea arbifolia that next to me that I talked about in my haul. It's quite thirsty actually, but I thought I might as well do this first. I just don't have much room. And these pots are quite stiff. Calathea like to stay moist and they're not that fussy, so I'm literally again just going to tease the ones at the bottom and just not really disturb it that much, which makes it slightly easier on me because in all honesty I find larger plants, like I wouldn't class this as large, it's like medium-ish, but larger plants, like the bigger a plant gets the more annoying I find it to repot, especially like my really tall trees. Like when I repotted the yucca, what a nightmare, honestly, what a nightmare. The whole living room was completely, this is the same pot. The whole living room was completely covered in soil. Oh yeah, and that'll have lots of nice room to grow. Shouldn't need to repot this again till next year now. I have potted it straight, but this crazy one does make it feel like it's all, you know. I don't want to cut it off though. I like it when plants do things a bit weird. I'm gonna have to vac the whole kitchen now. Right. This was the Calathea arbifolia from Tom Garden Centre. I noticed when I went to get it from upstairs that I snapped this leaf off with my clumsiness. So I'm just gonna cut the stem off. Because there'd be no saving it now. Such a cool plant. I've wanted one for ages. And then just remove the loose, nasty stuff around the side when it's not got roots in it, because what is the point? That's much more appropriate. So it's swapped. Oh, it went in my shoe. This will be the first time that these Calathea have had worm castings, so I'll be interested to see how that affects them. But also it's important to note that worm castings on their own are not a sufficient fertiliser. You need to also use some other kind of fertiliser. Beautiful. Go give her a drink now. And these just live next to each other. One other large Calathea I'd really like would be the Warsawizii. I did have a really small one once, but I killed it off once and thrips killed it off. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed repotting some plants with me. Please feel free to subscribe to be notified when we next make a video. We post weekly. Also, we have a whole bunch of stuff on Instagram if you're interested in some educational planty content. And if you're interested in buying some houseplanty art prints illustrated by myself and Han, then please head over to our website. It's buildyourjungle.com. And I hope you guys have a really fun day repotting plants or doing whatever it is that you like to do. And I'll see you next time. Bye.